welcome to the Australian Motorsport Museum. Today we have a very special episode for you. We're going to be going through some of the important artefacts of this museum today in a kind of one-on-one, more close-up and personal interview. So let's get started. Come, take a drink. Alright, so
it won't turn. Oh fuck, we need 10 seconds.
you're an idiot.
Alright, let's go. Oh, it scammed me. Nothing came out. Oh, hold on. There we go. Where'd it go? Hold on, I'm still gonna eat it.
Don't eat it. You gotta record yourself. Alright, so on this episode of the Australian Motorsport Museum, we are going to be delving deep into a specific kind of item in the museum. Initially, I want to go back right to the beginning. The first ever car that was purchased in the museum was way back in 2007. This car, well, you've already seen it before. It is the 1971 SSRS Camaro that we have just downstairs. We may show you a little bit later. But it was the first car that was ever purchased in the museum, and I am obviously the chairman of this car, and it was named after myself. So in true Aussie fashion, we get our number plates personalised. And my nickname as a kid was Lumpy because I was a very fat, very plump kid with a lot of rolls. So Lumpy is the number plate that we used to have on this car. And there was a famous picture of me standing in front of the car with this number plate, and it is a great picture, and we should show you that too. So this number plate was used on the 1971 Camaro for about a couple years until it was actually put on the club registration, which means that it's an antique. It's a car that is very valuable at this stage in time. And we also did use this number plate on another one of our items in the museum, which was the Bonneville Triumph that we actually restored back in the day as well. This was shortened in the Bonneville, which it only had the I, not the E end on the end of it. But this number plate is very special to me. It's been stuck in this museum, and it's going to stay in here for as long as it can until I move out, and I'll take it with me. So it stays in the museum because this is technically what kind of started the whole hoarding of all the memorabilia, the cars, the motorbikes you see behind me, all of the pinball machines, all of the things we do these days of the racing, all the motorbike riding, all of the fixing of cars and everything like that. But this is a very special number plate, and this represents me and this motorsport museum and its roots. Now, you can't be thinking that that's the only personalised plate we've ever gotten. Of course it isn't. So we've dusted off some of the old number plates as well that unfortunately aren't in use on the cars anymore, because of obviously a lot of them now are on club registration, which makes it a lot easier for insurance and use purposes because we don't use them too often as well. They're not a daily driver, that is. So the first one we got coming up is the personalised plates on the 1955 Aqua Cadillac. We like to call it Aqua, or it's a very weird color that is between green and blue, and it's very up there, but that was the classic Cadillac, and that's what they used to do. So that's a very important number plate as well that was on the car originally, well, when we first got it, that is, but now it's obviously got on club registration plates, which is much better from our point of view. So moving on to another car that was named after one of Phil and Katia's children. Her name is Elizabeth. You may have seen her from the previous video when she was being absolutely insane.
My dad is in love with this bike.
Yeah.
But we call her Dizzy, and that's pretty much her name at this stage. We have never referred to her as Elizabeth or Lizzie. It's either Dizzy or Diz, and this was the number plate that was registered to her car. Well, she wasn't able to drive it, obviously, but it was registered in this number plate, which is the classic Dizzy. It's a famous name that was made for no reason at all, because Dizzy, well, I mean Elizabeth, you got Lizzie, and then in straight Australian terms, you shorten everything you can, so it's from Lizzie to Dizzy, and then now we just call her Diz, so it's Dizzy. And finally, another personalised plates we have. We bought this about 10 years ago. It came with one of the cars that we also purchased for the Australian Motorsport Museum. It is the 1962 Merc.
Hi everybody, just wanted to show you this, which is a model of a 190 SL Mercedes-Benz. As you could see, the last time you saw me was in a Corvette 1954, and I basically love my convertibles, and this is one convertible that I also love that was made very, very popular in Hollywood, and Grace Kelly actually used to own one of these. And shortly, when the weather gets a bit better, because at the moment it's pretty blowy, we're actually going to take the actual larger version of this out for a bit of a run. And you could see it's got a beautiful, the 1950s just really looked after their styles. And this is basically a 1955 to 1962. The shape stayed basically the same. And you could see it's got the different types of rims. Just like, I think they were called butterfly rims. And you've got the beautiful curved shape, and inside it's all leather interior, of course, and it's basically the littlest brother of this series. So the Goldwing was actually the top of the range, then you had the 300 SL, and then you had the 190 SL. So it's not as powerful, but it's a great cruising car, and it's just amazing on the road. So that's a little quick snippet of what's to come riding into a 190 SL.
Okay, so welcome to my little corner of the man cave today, guys. This is where we'll be conducting my interview. My name's Catherine, if you haven't seen me before in the Motorsport Museum. Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about two little things that are in our museum. So you might have seen from the previous video with John Diz talking about the whole of the man cave, just generalising everything, that we have quite a few model cars. This one here is actually the Charger Valiant that we have downstairs. The one that we got downstairs was the Bathurst commercial car, and this is just our little model of it. It's a little bit of memorabilia. Do you want to have a quick look at that? Now, one of the questions that always goes through our mind every Father's Day, birthday, Christmas, Easter, just every holiday in general: what do you get a guy that has everything you could ever want? Yeah. Right? What can you possibly get him? See, Phil here, he's quite lucky. He's got all this to celebrate. So what do you get him? Well, our answer was cartons that contain biscuits. Now he has quite a lot of these. I reckon being in the 20s or something like that. Being in the 20s or something like that. Unfortunately, we couldn't find one that had one of our actual cars in this museum in it. So instead, I got you these two sample ones. They're both just classic tins, nothing special really, but when you think about it, you get a guy who loves cars, loves biscuits. What more could you want than a tin with a bunch of cookies in it and some cars on the top? Perfect gift. We might have overdone it by now, but went well for the time we had it.
Now this is a special bike. In the previous video we saw John and Dizzy. They come and just kind of quickly panned over the bike, but they missed the importance and the specialty of what this actually is. It's a 1982 A.M. Suzuki 465, and this has been immaculately restored by a man in the countryside of Victoria, Australia. This bike was known for making a really unique change to their racing team back in 1982 season. They switched and fully developed the first full floater suspension, which absolutely annihilated the competition the first time it was introduced. This bike has had everything from the exhaust to the engine and the whole chain, and even the plastics replaced and brought back to life by this man. It was too sad as well. He did own as well a fully restored of the same year Honda CR125, which we were thinking of purchasing, but we couldn't convince him in the end. So this bike we do have in the museum, it's going to stick here. It comes with all the mats, the special stand that was created by him, and it runs like an absolute dream. We have had a few runs at the back of the shed with it as well, and it's a beast. It runs insanely quick, and it will be forever remembered as one of the greatest developing suspensions that was made back in that season, and it sticks here now with the museum, and we are really proud to have it here. So this is it, and hopefully maybe one day we'll be able to get it out again and start running up, because it really is a dream to ride, and it's really awesome to see in action. Awesome. And while we're next to the Suzuki RM, we might as well pan over to what was also just touched on recently in the previous video. This is the hood from the 2003 Falcon, the FPV Ford, part of the A.M.M racing team. John Bow was actually driving this car when the hood was damaged. He was racing in Bathurst, and a man called Richards did actually hit him, and the hood and the car was damaged. This is its actually hood from that car in that year. It's in its livery, and it's still got all the mandatory stickers and the decals that are required on the car that need to be there for safety reasons and safety purposes. So this also stays in the museum, and it's one of another special pieces that we've added in recent times. And as you also may have told, I'm also changing jumpers and jackets each time I'm interviewing each of these items, and that's because it's part of the museum, and we've got the matching jackets to go with it, so we'll use them. But this is very important, and it's one of the famous race cars and the race car liveries that we've seen over the years in Bathurst and the V8 supercars. We really appreciate your company tonight, and we're really saddened that we can't actually take any of the bikes and the cars out at the moment. It is winter in Australia right now, and it's very cold, and we are still in the COVID lockdown, which makes it even harder for us to get things out. But we can assure you that they will be out at some stage, and we'll be able to show you some more juicy content for you to watch and enjoy. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Australian Motorsport Museum. Oh, my knee! Oh, my knee!